Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Also, just to say, I know it is for women, but I think men need to hear this too. I think it's good for men to be able to hear what we're going to say here, but obviously it's directed at women. But yeah,
Absolutely.
let's do this.
I think it's universal. Building
Yes.
better relationships is universal.
Yeah.
We don't go into relationships on our own. We do have relationships with ourselves, but I think it's so important that we build healthy relationships.
Yes.
With such a lot of challenges that we've had in our world and in our country alone, I think that this is a fantastic start.
Yes.
And guys, we're going to be focusing on this book, Building Better Relationships. Steve over here, he is the author, and we are going to be basing the 4 areas that we're going to be talking about, the 4 freedoms in building healthy relationships within each of these components. So this week, we are going to be looking at the freedom to say what you want to say within healthy boundaries. Okay. And so, Steve, you know, at the beginning of your book, it's so you talk about, that you're not yourself on your own. You are built up as a person as a result of other influences that you had from family, especially from family, from formative years, and then from other external variables. And, a lot of that has influence on the 4 freedoms. Is that correct?
Yes. I think in social studies, they call it the systems. So you're always part of a system, some kind of system. So your work is a system, your home is a system, church is a system, your friendship group's a system. So all of those systems have impacts on us. So basically, if you think about yourself, you think like all your gifts, talents, abilities, your strengths, your weaknesses, all the good things that have happened to you and all the bad things that have happened to you, your temperament and personality combined makes you a unique person. So all of us have all of those components in us. And even though we might have similar temperament styles, we'll still be different because of our background influences within our family. So I got the 4 freedoms from another lady that I was listening to, and I just adapted it a little bit because of the way that I've been dealing with relationship in my counseling practice. So just to go through the 4 so people are aware, the 4 freedoms are basically the freedom to feel what you feel without being told what to feel, think what you think without being told what to think, say what you say without being told what to say, and go where you go without being told where to go. I added that one on. She doesn't include that one. So basically in health, we're talking about health relationships. So sometimes when I say things like that, then people say, oh, so I can just do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. They must got to remember about impacts on the people, because that's unhealthy. In health relationships, we must have a freedom to be able to say what we're feeling about a particular topic or situation, or how a person is treating me or speaking to me, without the fear of being dismissed or spoken over or told I'm being stupid or you're overreacting or dismissed or invalidated and things like that. So it's important to understand with those 4 freedoms in the context of healthy. So again, the freedom to go where I go without being told where to go. I need to have the freedom of movement, so I can go to places and visit people. The minute someone restricts me from that, so you can't visit those people, only you've got to visit your family, you can't have that friend, you can't do this, you can't go to the shop. I was friends with a guy many, many years ago. And a lot of what happened in that family and that friendship actually influenced a lot of the way that I've written some information in a few of my books, because it was so dysfunctional, because he controlled the whole system. So his wife wasn't allowed to go out. She never had the freedom to go out, watch TV if she wanted to watch TV. He had these strict rules. No, you can't do this, you can't go, you can't. So he could go out whenever he wanted to go out. And he could go and visit friends and go to the shop and stuff. But the minute she wanted to do something, there was a big problem, because she always had to be at home for him, to take care of him, kind of thing. You know? And that's so unhealthy. And the problem with that is it creates the same kind of system in the children's family, because they grow up in that. So either they model that same dynamic, or they create an even more toxic one, whereas they don't have any like responsibility. So the person can just do whatever they want. So there's no boundaries. And I think that's what you said in the beginning too, is such a crucial thing, is that a lot of times our freedoms are broken down because we've got no boundaries. So we grow up with boundaries. They call them the rock boundaries. So they're so rigid, like a rock, or they're like marshmallow boundaries. They're just too malleable. They say rather have a tennis ball boundary, so it bounces and it comes back to you, and you're in control of it. So you can throw it and come back, and you're in control of those boundaries. And so remember, just talking about boundaries, that if you put a boundary up, because healthy people don't need boundaries. I mean, sorry. Healthy people don't need to be told about boundaries, because they know boundaries exist. So they have their own boundaries, and they respect the boundaries of others. The minute someone oversteps a boundary, and I talk to them or confront them on it, and they get angry or resist, it means that boundary needed to be set, because that person is unaware of healthy boundaries. You'll always find that unhealthy people will get upset with you when you set a boundary. No, I can't do that. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to come to that party. I'm not going to go. Then a person gets, because you've put up a boundary that they don't like, and they then are losing control. So if a person resists that boundary, it means that boundary should have been put up a long time ago.
In the first place.
Yes, definitely.
In the first place. You know, Steve, when you're talking about, the first freedom, where you're talking about the importance of being able to say what you want to say. Now, in your book, you refer to, when you're a child, if you think about going back and like you'd fall and you'd scrape your knee, and your parents would maybe say, no, don't cry. No, don't cry, it's okay. That means that they are not validating how you're feeling, and that you have the right to be able to, if you maybe need to have a little cry, it's okay. And then you can step on and say, all right, I've felt that emotion. I'm okay now. I can keep going. And so the inability to share something because you're afraid of perhaps someone saying, don't say that, will restrict what you're saying.
Yes.
And in the long term, does it look like that could be a big implication why people don't share their feelings?
I think so, yeah. I think you moved into the feeling one when they fall and they hurt themselves, and then don't cry. That's inhibiting the feel what you feel without being told what you feel. But it has implications on the saying, because I can't express how I feel. Correct. So that's a combination. But just quickly go back to the saying thing. So say what I say without being told what to say. Within healthy relationships, just look at I think I use it in the book as well, the acrostic rate. Gentle, respectful, encourage, attune, and touch. So always remember that when in healthy relationships, I say there's 4 things to remember that when you're speaking. Think about this. Before you say anything, now obviously not all discussions or things can follow this route completely, but have these in mind when you're talking. So when you want to talk to someone about something, think about what you want to say, and then say that and only that. So if you want to say, I didn't like the way you spoke to me on Saturday night, speak about how he or she spoke to you on Saturday night, not about the other times they spoke to you.
And
just a Saturday night.
And the importance of using the I,
yes,
as opposed to you did this.
Yes, you are so rude, you are disrespectful, I don't like the way you talk to me. I feel, or I didn't like, I was hurt by, I was embarrassed by the way you spoke to me. Okay, so when I start saying that, I want to think about what I want to say and say that and only that. So, okay, I want to talk to my partner about how they spoke to me on Saturday night. So, think about what I want to say and say that. Then always be gentle and respectful. So always try, wherever possible, to be gentle, to come across gently and respectfully. Now, if your partner doesn't start off like that, so say your partner is wanting to talk to you and they don't start off gently and respectful, you still have the right to respond gently and respectfully by saying, please don't speak to me like that. I don't like your tone of voice right now. I don't like the way you're talking to me. I want to hear what you have to say, but please don't talk to me like that. So now, in a healthy relationship, your partner should respond by, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak. But inevitably what happens is that, stop overreacting, or I'm not talking, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm not being aggressive or whatever. So what we want to do is we want to say, if both of us agree that we need to be gentle and respectful, because that's how we validate each other's freedom to speak. So when I speak gently and respectfully, or I don't speak gently and respectfully, and my wife responds and says, please don't speak to me like that, I need to say, okay, I need to respect what she's saying because she's got the freedom to say that. If I reject that, and then I'm rejecting her freedom. And that's where the conflict starts, because my freedoms are being violated. So if you look at, in the big scheme of things, every time we have conflict, it's because one of those four freedoms have been violated in some way. And so we want to try and work it so that we help each other learn to respond in ways that are conducive to keeping the conversation flowing in healthy ways. So gentle and respectful. So think about what you want to say that and only that. Be gentle and respectful. Then have a soft startup versus a harsh startup. So a soft startup, a harsh startup is like you said earlier. You do this, you do that, you don't, you rude, you this.
So it's kind of
that's it.
Revving it,
Exactly,
rather
yes.
than just starting the car and let it idle.
And warm up. That's it, exactly. Good analogy. So don't start your car up and rev it. It's going to be bad for the engine. And if you do that, a harsh start, people become defensive. It's a natural thing. If someone's attacking you, your fight or flight mode kicks in. Naturally, that's what it's supposed to happen. So then I'm going to react. So then you expecting someone to not react to that. So then you start moaning at the way your partner's reacting, but you started harshly. So if you've got a soft startup, I'm sorry, I didn't like that, it hurt me or it upset me. And then the fourth one there is there's three ways that you respond. You turn away, turn against, or turn towards. So you want to turn towards your partner, always turning towards them. In other words, speaking in a way or responding in a way that's going to get them to turn towards me. So how can I say this in a way that's going to keep them engaged with me and keep this conversation going? So I feel heard, they feel heard and understood, and I feel heard and understood. And we both walk away saying, okay, fine. So let's play it out. I go to my wife, or my wife comes, because inevitably that's the way it would be, because my wife never does that. So she'd come to me, I didn't like the way, like one time she said to me, I didn't like the joke, or I don't like it when you talk about me in certain scenarios. Because I can't remember what it was, but I'd said something and it was a joke and people laughed. Afterwards, she came to me and said to me. Now, when she said that to me, I could have easily said, oh, it was just a joke. Everybody laughed. You even laughed.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know why you're so upset.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, normally I wouldn't say it in that calm voice. I'd say, oh, come on, man, it was just a joke. You're overreacting. Why are you so upset? Come on, where's your sense of humor? Yeah. That totally invalidates her. It takes away her freedom to feel those feelings and to express that. So what's happening then, she won't want to express her feelings. She won't want to talk to me about those things again, because every time she does, I'm going to react. Yeah. But instead I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It was meant as a joke. But if you don't like that, I won't do that again. And I don't do that again. Yes. So I haven't done that again. Sometimes I have said things that she hasn't liked, and she's been able to come to me and say to me. And I must say that I haven't always reacted like that. Sometimes I have said, oh, come on, it wasn't. I don't know why it's such. But then gone back and said, I'm sorry. You've got every right to say that. You've got every right to feel like that. I'm sorry I didn't respond in a healthy way the first time around. Please forgive me. I will not do that again. I won't speak like that, etc. So be willing to realize that because you're human, you are going to make mistakes and you are going to not always get it right every time. But if you don't get it right, then just go and apologize. So
and
I'm
also
sorry.
maybe ask for further clarification.
Yes.
Can you explain to me? I don't understand.
Yes.
And you know, Steve, I'm thinking about just the analogy of a sunflower. When a sunflower raises its head towards where the sun is.
That's right.
And if you're warm, loving,
Yes.
you're going to get that same attention.
Yes.
However, when the sun goes down, you'll see the sunflower just go towards and droops. And if you're cold towards somebody else, then they're going to have that same kind of reaction.
Yes, yeah, yes. I think that's a natural thing for us as humans, and it's very hard for us if you have got, if you're in touch with your feelings and emotions, it's going to be very difficult for you to not feel like that. But you'll be able to manage it. If you're healthy, you can manage those things, but it doesn't mean that you aren't going to feel them intensely. Sometimes when we are healthy in our emotions, we feel those emotions more intensely. But we're able to manage them and control them. But because we're humans and we're created as emotional beings, it is good for us to feel that when someone is responding to us in that way. It's good for us to feel like that because it tells us that something's wrong. The problem comes in often is how we respond to that. So what do I do with that? So it's not so much what happens to me that's the problem, it's how I respond to that. So you could come at me and you can get aggressive with me. How I choose to respond to that and allow you to do that or not allow you to do that going forward is where I'm going to. So if I'm strong and I'm healthy in my emotion, I can say, hey, hold on a second, Robin, please don't talk to me like that. I don't appreciate that. If you continue talking, I'll say, well, hold on a second. If you continue talking, I'm going to choose to leave. And if you continue, I'll get up and walk out. And you can shout and scream and do whatever you want, but I'm not going to tolerate that kind of disrespect. If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. But there has to be a respect. When you talk to someone, when you raise your voice and shout and stuff like that, it's disrespectful. And so, especially if you're a Christian, why we often think that we've got to take that because we're Christians. And I don't agree with that.
You're supposed to be humble.
Yes, and also turn the other cheek.
Yes,
and stuff.
yes.
And I don't agree with that. I think that when it's talking about turning the other cheek, Jesus was talking specifically in connection with being persecuted because of being a Jew in that state, but then also because if you're a Christian and you're persecuted for your faith, that's okay. That's a different story. I've been shouted at and nearly, threatened to be hit because I was professing my faith, and I'm not afraid of that. That's a different thing to someone talking to me about within the workplace or at home or anywhere in a friendship or any situation that is just being belligerent or disrespectful by shouting, screaming, swearing, calling me names for no reason or whatever, or they're just upset with me and they're shouting and screaming. That I won't tolerate that, and I can do it calmly and I can do it gently. I don't have to get aggressive back. I don't have to get angry back. I can do it calmly and I can do it. Humility doesn't mean that you take disrespect and you take abuse. Humility means that you're able to manage it in a way that doesn't exalt yourself above the other person and make them feel inferior. Faith, and because she's going to the cross. He never look at the woman at the well and look at the woman caught in adultery. He never allowed the crowd to abuse them or disrespect them and stuff. He actually handled the situation in a healthy way, and he gave her the freedom to say what she needed to say, as well as giving the others the freedom to say what they wanted to say. He gave them the freedom to say that. And they couldn't because they never had the ability to do that, because they, like that one picture says, the only person who had the right to cast a stone never did. And so we've got the freedom to express those things. It's how we do it.
So thanks, Steve. So finally, let's look at a last scenario. We have a couple and they're interested in each other. What suggestions would you give to them in terms of establishing healthy boundaries to start off their relationship? That's something that is critical foundation to a relationship. You can't just jump in head first, you know. You've got to get to know them.
It would depend on how you're going into dating in the first place. If you're going to go into dating just to date, then you know, I think that's if that's your approach, then you're going to get what you get, you know. And I don't think you need to have any serious conversations with anybody if you're just going to date for the sake of dating. But if you're going to date with serious intentions, because this is I don't want to just date someone for the sake of dating. I want to date with the intention to marry. So I'm going to take it slow, and I'm going to see where this goes. I'm not going to jump into anything. I'm going to just see how this develops. So I'm going to be very cautious about how I allow myself to be pulled into this relationship emotionally, physically, sexually, or anything like it. So I would then, if the relationship is starts off on a friendship basis, and we start visiting each other regularly, and it starts to develop into something more serious, and both of us feel that it's going somewhere, and we want it to go somewhere, then I'd have a serious conversation about saying things like, okay, then we need to get to know each other. So I would like to know about the person's family, their background. Where did they grow up? Who did they grow up with? Did they grow up with their mother, their father? Do they have a nuclear family? Do they have a blended family? You know, were their parents divorced? What kind of relationship do they have with their mother and their father? Especially for women, I would ask the question as what I would look at the relationship the man has with his mother, because that will determine how he's going to treat you. So if it's a disrespectful relationship, or if it's an abusive relationship, he treats his mother badly, then he's going to treat you like that. Watch how he treats his colleagues at work, people under him, his people that work with him, waiters. Watch how they treat waiters, especially men. Watch how they treat waiters. Watch how they treat their pets, because that's a big sign of how they'll treat you. And remember that the person can only hide their true self for about 3 months. So give it before you get serious about anything. Give them 3 months, because on the 3-month mark, something's going to happen. Then I'd say look at all their previous, what kind of relationship. If they always bad mouthing their exes, that their exes were always mad, or they were crazy, or I would say take that as a red flag. And if they've had a lot of relationships, short-term relationships, and stuff like that, or if they've been married multiple times, that would be a major red flag. Women need to stop thinking that they can save the guy and change him and help him and rescue him, and you're going to be the one that's going to rescue him and help him. If he comes from a very controlling and manipulative, abusive mother, then that's a red flag. Be careful with that kind of thing, because a man, if he's been abused like that, they turn out to be narcissists. So you've got to watch out for that. Then I'd also ask, is there anybody in your life that you're not over yet? Is there anybody in your life that's not over you?
Good question.
Is there anybody in your life that you want back? Is there anybody in your life that wants you back? Now, when I first started writing this book, I spoke to my daughters about it. I've got 2 girls, and my oldest daughter said, "Yeah, but the guy could lie." I said, "Yes, he can lie, but you catch him out, and then it's over. Because if you're going to lie about that, you're going to lie about a lot of other stuff." Because you want transparency, openness, and honesty. If the person's not willing to, that's one of the forms of trust. There's 7 forms of trust. One of the forms is truthfulness. If the person's not willing to tell the truth, you can't trust him. If you can't trust him, you can't have a relationship. Trust, love is the foundation. You cannot exist on love alone. All those country and Western songs are a lot of rubbish. All these Hallmark movies, a lot of rubbish. Love is not the only. You've got to have trust and connection. And everything else goes on top. If trust or connection break down, everything falls. You've got to have connection. Trust is a crucial part in building connection. Connection is a crucial part in building trust. You've got to have both of them. If one of those falls down, you're going to have problems. If you can't trust a person. Now, what you've got to examine about trust, though, is it the person that's untrustworthy, or do you have a problem with trust because you've been hurt in the past? Then you've got to deal with that, because then that's going to be problematic, because you're projecting your problem onto the other person, and that's unfair. That's unfair on him. or her, if that's what. So if you've got trust issues, you need to deal with them before you get involved in a relationship. And don't go into a relationship without dealing. Try and deal with as many issues as you can. And you look at healthy people. Healthy people, after a breakup, will take a little bit of time to heal and to restore before they get involved. An unhealthy person gets into another relationship very quickly because they're not willing to face what they need to face, because they don't see themselves as the problem. They'll see the other person as a problem. And so if there's been multiple relationships, so I would have a discussion like that, and just find out some facts about them, and what they believe in. I think if you're a Christian, it's very important to make sure that the person's a believer like you, the same type of believer, not like someone who says they go to church, but they don't actually go to church. They go to church, weddings, funerals, and Christmas and Easter, but they're proper believers. They go to. Then I would ask serious questions about their faith. When did they come to know Jesus? How long have they been a Christian? Who's their pastor? What church do they go to? Does their pastor know them? Are they involved in the church? Because that would be a good place to ask. Go to the pastor and say, I've met this guy. His name's Steve. What do you think? And the part, if people that you talk to are like, I'm sure he's this, he's that, he owes me money, and that, talking about money, that's one of the forms of trust too, is financial. You've got to trust the finances. So I would ask about debt. Are you in debt? How much are you in debt? And then say, you want to talk about that. Now, I had a person say to me, but he said he wasn't in debt, but he was in debt. Well, then that's a deal breaker for me. If he's going to lie to you about that, and you find out too much, then you've got to say, look, pal, I'm not interested in it. Because if you're going to lie about that stuff, then anytime there's a guardedness about something, there's secrets. Now, I'm not saying that you must, you 3 months into the relationship and you're going to ask the person about his salary and how much money. No, that's not right. But if you and you and there's a seriousness about this relationship, and there's a direct, you need to ask those questions. It's going to impact you because he's in debt. You don't know, and you get married, it becomes your debt, and it's too late. And remember this very important thing: whatever you don't deal with now doesn't get easier in marriage; it gets worse. So a big thing for me, Robin, is that I would, especially a man, as a woman, I would ask the man, how do you feel about counseling? If the man is like, oh, no, I don't need, I'd say, cheers. I really would, because I'll tell you, if anybody is not willing to take instruction from someone else, the Bible's very clear about that. If a person is not willing to take instruction from anybody else, they are too proud and they're arrogant, and you're going to have problems with a person like that later, because they won't apologize, they won't say they're sorry, they won't take instruction, they won't listen to anybody.
So the importance of godly and wise counsel.
Godly and wise counsel. The Bible says, in the presence of many counselors is much wisdom. Now, obviously, you can't just allow anybody to talk into your life, but have people speaking into your life. Find people that you trust, that you value, that you trust their wisdom and their information, and you surround yourself with people like that. That's speaking. If you look in the Bible, you'll see you've got to have people alongside you that you walk with. You've got to have people below you that you're feeding into, and you've got to have people above you that feed back. You've got to have those three. And it's not just, God's my mentor, God's my coach. I don't know. I think that's an independent spirit, and it's pride, and I don't agree with that. I think you need to have one or two people that you don't have too many people. But one or two people that speak into your life, that you say, this guy, they challenge me, they ask the hard questions, they're the people I want to listen to. How's your marriage? How's your finances? All stuff like that.
To allow you to be honest.
Yep.
Steve, I love what you're saying, and I think we'll take a break there and we'll pick up with this next week about the importance of words that are spoken into your life, things that are said, and we'll go on to the next freedom where the acrostic is love. And we'll pick this up next week. So we really hope that you've enjoyed this. There's been such wise wisdom and godly counsel that's been shared here. So I really hope that you take it to heart and have a beautiful week, and God bless you.